concept.
Hello.
Hello. We're talking off book while the thing
I
goes
love that
live.
it does the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're always just like shit talking the
Right
platform
up
or
to the
whatever.
line. Yeah,
Right
we're
until
just edging the line out. Well, this time we crossed it.
we cross. Well, Riverside, if you're listening to me, I love you, and I think you're the an amazing platform for recording podcasts. But I need you to stop changing the user interface every week. I'm too old for this nonsense.
It's way too much to keep up with.
Keep the buttons where the buttons are with the same names every week. It's not that hard.
It hits your nervous system. Like, what? What do I not remember what this looked like? I only did it 4 days ago. Change management, it's a thing. Don't force us to keep updating our brains. So,
Okay.
speaking of
So
which,
we thought we would talk this week a little bit about pricing, which is something that occupies a lot of our day to day as we're putting together
yeah.
influencer programs. And I don't know if you're seeing this, but I'm just seeing a lot of discrepancies in the way that pricing is provided when you we rarely do this just because of how we're set up. But if we are ever in the situation where we are reaching out to managers or to influencers and asking them to provide us with a price, there is zero consistency in how that price is presented back to us in terms of what it includes, what kind of
Right.
rationale there is for the pricing. Like it's just kind of, we always kind of, you and I kind of always roll our eyes at people calling influencer marketing the wild, wild west. But like, you almost can't fault people for thinking that if they're judging it based on the prices that they get back
And if they're new to the whole negotiating
from, yeah,
landscape
yeah,
with influencers, for sure. Right. Because it's, you get a quote in the body of the email, or you get a media kit that lists who knows what. Like maybe somewhere in the fine print, there's pricing, and then it's if this, then that pricing. Like if you want
right.
these, sub items, and then you're left to come up with like the grab bag of we think we do need all of these things, so it looks like it's going to be $55 million. Like you don't
Right.
know what you've, and there's no, yeah, okay, so
So this topic was inspired by a LinkedIn post that I saw over the weekend.
speaking of $50 million.
Let me
Yeah.
read it just so we're all on the same
So
page.
this
I won't
is
read
not
it.
you, this
This
is
is
your
not me. This is
or
coming
quoting
from
somebody else.
someone. I guess I know her because I'm connected to her. I don't remember how I know her. Her name is Andriana Froid. And she said, I just got quoted $80,000 for one Instagram post by my dream creator. Like, I love you and I want you to have the best, but girl, $80,000 for one single post before we even look at usage, boosting, collaboration request with no negotiation, you're breaking my heart. I
Yeah.
have so many thoughts when I read that.
Well, so this is my thing about negotiating, period. It is emotional, right? So what you just got a hit, I got a hit. I understand empathetically what Andrea is feeling and saying. I can sense what the influencer has been told, know your worth and da da da. But we've got to acknowledge it is an emotional drag to negotiate. So then take it from there.
Yes. Well, I also think there's no real guidance on for all the talk of having industry benchmarks and some kind of formula and algorithm and system for pricing. There is nothing that's considered standard in the industry, and it's very different, I think, from vertical to vertical. So
Mhm.
fashion is going to cost more than food, is going to cost more than general lifestyle. Like there's just so much variability within it. um so I think that's an issue. The
But
biggest
that's
thing.
not, we're not going to solve that, right? Like it's not an issue. It's actually, those are variables. You and I have talked about this. If you want a retired teacher in Southwest Idaho, if you want a credentialed expert in a certain state, in a
Yeah.
certain field, it does get more expensive.
But you have the benchmarks and the knowledge because you've been doing it and you have records of how much you've paid and you're talking to multiple influencers.
Yes.
You know, you might go out and offer a certain amount that's not going to be too low or too, it might be slightly off, but it's going to be in the realm. And like if you ask them for their rate, you're going to know if it's too low or too high because you understand it and you have all the context. But if
Right.
you are that school teacher in Iowa, did you say wherever?
Sure.
If you are that school teacher in Iowa, you don't know what to
Mm.
charge. Like you're Googling, how much do I charge?
Gosh, this opens. So I just posted today about how agencies that run campaigns and even brand teams need to have practices in place to coach the influencers themselves. So that doesn't worry me at all that somebody is new to it. I think why we get the emotional hit being quoted 80,000 is because that person is not new to it. Is because that person is looking at brand budgets, looking at industry trends, looking at that, and fair enough, if there's scarcity, exclusivity, demand, charge your $80,000.
Yeah, if you can
We
get
won't,
it,
I know we won't
great
be
work.
working with you. And we'll get back to that. So, yes, it's from our side, it's not the wild, wild west. You're saying to the layperson, and even like maybe a brand that's trying to do this themselves and hasn't done it before, influencer marketing, they might be like, "Holy shit, what are we talking about here?" And then those two forces come together: the school teacher who doesn't know what to charge, the brand team that might be a little starry-eyed about the whole thing, and boom, recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the thing that stood out to me the most when I looked at that LinkedIn is probably not what Andriana like
Well, I'm
intended
sorry,
as the key
Adriana.
point. That's okay.
She's going to be Amy by the end of
I
this,
didn't
or Anne.
know. What got me, which I've talked about before and makes me crazy, is that we are getting these base rates
Mm,
that don't include anything. And I just feel like this industry is in a place right now where there should never be a situation where we're getting a base rate that it would be like asking the price of a car and it doesn't
there's no
include the
tires.
paint job on it or the
Right.
tires, right?
Windshield wipers. Right.
Right? Like there's
Right.
certain things that should be included
Yes.
and you like we all understand how the algorithms work now, and there's a reason that these platforms have you use their branded content tools, and that is so that they know that you are getting paid to create that content, and they are going to throttle that content so that the brands put paid amplification behind it. So if you are being paid to create a post that's going to live on Meta or live on TikTok and it's branded content and you are charging a base rate for that post and sharing that rate without including some certain amount
Common
of
sense.
usage
Common
for
sense
the
usage. Yeah.
brand, it's nonsense. Like
Yeah.
have a base rate in your brain, sure, and add the usage on in your own private time in your spreadsheet. But like when someone asks you for that price, that $80,000 number is useless with no usage attached to it.
Oh, so that's a really good point. And again, it is emotional because now that person has come back unprofessionally. Like they're making your job. Let's put you in her space. You're negotiating. You've got to spend more time now asking for common sense add-ons. You've got to sort of keep your client at bay. Like we're working on it. It didn't come easily. It didn't come back quickly. Now in your mind, I'm saying maybe you are, "Ugh, this person is going to be a nightmare to work with because already this person, this influencer has blown through best practices or any kind of etiquette, professional etiquette. If they are going to make me beg for those common sense add-ons,
But let's just
ugh,
take let's give this influencer the benefit of the doubt. I still think I would never if I were an influencer, I would not give a rate that didn't include some common sense
yep,
inclusions.
yep,
That said, when we ask for rates, we are very clear what that rate should include. So we will say and this is just an
Okay, that's
example because
good.
it's different on
Yeah,
every program, like,
good pointers.
can you let us know what it would cost for an Instagram reel, 30 seconds, whatever, I'm making it up. We need 30 days exclusivity. We need 1 month of paid usage, 2 months organic usage. You're going to have to be including an original recipe and a cover photo along with that reel. Please tell us the cost for that. Our favorite influencers come back and tell us the cost for that. The
It seems so
annoying
simple.
the annoying teams come back with, well, here's this, and then this many days for this, and then this many days for this, and then I have to see the whole itemization, and then I feel like I'm getting taken advantage of.
Nipped, nipped, nipped.
So, like,
Yeah.
I see that there's issues. I see that there are problems with this negotiation on both sides, so that people who are asking for the rates are asking in the wrong way, and they're setting themselves up for a nightmare, drawn out situation. And then the people who are providing the rates are just often providing them in such a way that's like completely not user friendly, pretty obnoxious.
Right.
Like, it doesn't do anyone any favors to see the itemization of something, because
Well, I don't care. I don't need that. Don't make me work harder
Right.
to hire you.
yeah.
Oh, so this is really the influencers and their teams, if there are management teams around this scenario. First, please hear what Danielle is saying, because Danielle and her team are going to be a dream to work with. That's what they
We are
honestly,
peaches.
you are, because you have nailed it. You've been clear, direct. This is what we can do. I would also argue that on the influencer brand team side, it's okay to say, this is what we feel like we can do, but you'd get a better bang for your buck if we did this,
Totally.
this, and this.
Like,
right?
this, this is her busiest time of year. She is
Mhm.
counting on a ton of work at this time. And
Right.
so, like, that 30 days of exclusivity is actually adding to this price. If you would be able to take it down to 10,
Yes.
we could really
Yes.
negotiate. Like,
Yep.
one of the first things you learn in any negotiation class is to, like, build in some easy ways that you can win on your negotiation. So, like, include everything in that, and then they come back and say, oh, that's too much, and then you're like, oh, well, I can remove this thing that you didn't even want anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like there's like an art to negotiating, and I'm
100%.
not seeing any, like, I guess I see very little art out
No
there.
nuance. No, it's just kind of bludgeon us with maybe the power dynamic of, you're asking us for and this is where, again, I do agree maybe with the Wild Wild West light, is it's not just the pricing, it's that the different industries or niches will have more or less supply. So when you get into an industry that has a smaller supply of the people you need, that conversation becomes a lot more fraught in a way,
Mhm.
and dependent on really good communication and clarity and transparency. If it's you know, like you said, food or fitness or something fashion, that there's just beauty, so many people clamoring to get brand deals, you have
Right.
more
Well, and I
leverage.
mean, there's so many other factors too, right? Like, you mentioned fitness. If you want a good deal on a fitness influencer, maybe you should reach out in, like, October, when we're all getting ready to, like,
We're
sit
all
on our
getting fat.
couches and eat nonstop. And,
Right.
like, but come January, they're going to cost a lot more money because everyone wants to work
100%.
with them in January. So, like, there's so many
Yep.
factors that go into pricing.
Pricing and strategy around pricing. And like you're pointing out, we on the agency side are negotiating actually two sides of the equation. We're negotiating with our clients and helping them understand and navigate some of those. Where can we trim the fat on this request? And what is I mean, you've mentioned just now, like, building in places where it can be a win, like, oh, we don't really, like, if you can reduce exclusivity. But there are other nuanced places too, where I'm just so in love with collaborating, both with my clients and with the influencers, right? So when I hear my client say something about, well, if this doesn't happen, then we can cut this piece. But what they want to cut will actually really hurt the program. I need to be able to say that to them. I need to be able to say, whoa, 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 that's not what we're cutting. And that's not where we're going to settle. And then going back to the influencers and saying, we've protected this. Where can you work with us? Because we know your world and what's fair, what's going to make this work and not work for you. So it is a balancing act. I really think you're making a great case for working with an agency in between those two entities. I really
Always.
do. It's
Do you,
emotional. It's just there's a lot of drag here.
I have a question about process. One of the things that we've started to do more and more is to leave, we always call it the bucket of money. We have a section in our spreadsheet it's literally a bucket of money. So we have our expected / hoped for price for the different types and sizes of influencers on a campaign, but especially for campaigns that might be tricky and we're not sure how hard it's going to be to find these people, or they're we know that our client sometimes falls in love with someone who's a little bit bigger or might be more in demand or whatever. We leave this bucket of money, and the size of that kind of varies by complexity of the campaign, so that we can say, like, okay, here's what we're offering for this program. And if it's someone who we think is just, we got to use this person, but they ask for a little bit more, we can dip into that bucket of money without eating into our margin or having to, double up and remove one of the influencers. And like, so we can still get the same amount of content and kind of have a win-win.
We do that just probably on a smaller scale in terms of the size programs that we're running versus what you're running. So absolutely. And it's even something that we are, bringing in seasoned PR marketing strategists to run these programs and execute them. It doesn't mean that they're adept at negotiation. Like, it really is interesting what happens there. We had one influencer that we reached out to for 2 programs, somewhat back to back. And, one person negotiated the first deal on our team, and the second person negotiated the second deal, and they were fairly identical. And it was a 40% bump because of, like, again, emotions, nerves. Oh, they get nervous. The strategists get nervous. We're human, right? We get nervous. We don't want to piss somebody off or come across the wrong way or lose them if they're that ideal person. So it is interesting to watch it unfold of what you need in place. And that bucket of money and those like the spreadsheet of here's the range, that helps a lot too.
Where I find that there's also sometimes we do programs where we're working with people who they are not professional they're not influencers by trade. Sure. They happen to have a platform, but like we're doing a program right now with contractors and roofers.
Right.
Who happen to have a strong Instagram or TikTok following, but like, let's be real, like installing roofs is their prime time gig. Yep. Like negotiating influencer is not. So we have someone who we're working with, and we said, this was all hand recruitment. So, we reached out and we said, we'd love to work with you on this campaign. And he said, great. And we said, this is what we're offering. It's this much money and then materials for the job. And he said, great, verbally. Then we said, okay, we need you to apply through our form thing. The rate was reiterated there. He checked it off that he understood as part of like the contracting process. Yeah. So that was confirmed there. So now he's on the campaign. We're like kicking off the campaign, like, okay, this is going to start. When's your project date? So we can coordinate getting all the materials for you. Dude has no idea he's getting paid money. He said, so just to clarify, like the compensation for this program is just the materials.
You made his day then. You got to be the hero.
My friend, like we went back and forth in email. You checked a box.
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh. And then this is and it's not necessarily about negotiation, but that brings up a really like topical theme for me is there is so much going on behind the scenes with anybody you're talking to. So in this case, this person, maybe their spouse or their office manager was answering some of the emails. maybe they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be like a creator. Let me have my kid get involved. Like they don't have practices around the stream of communication and their operations for being a creator.
Right.
But
Like they
like,
probably created their Instagram account just to promote their roofing business,
sure, which is
right? And they happen
perfect.
to be charming, and so it's
Yep.
doing well, and they have thousands of followers. And
Yeah, but there was no outlying, like, let me put a business plan together to be
right,
an
right.
influencer in this space. And you really can't know that going into it. Even on a very tactical level, when we benchmark a campaign at the outset, doing this volumes of research about the influencer team we've pulled in and what the expectations are, we have no way of knowing some things like, are they boosting their own content? Which content is being boosted? What this is where, and I think you get that piece of it, but this is where that collaborative energy and culture in our agency really comes into prominence. Is we want to ask them, what should we know about your content? Where should we be looking for good examples of what performs well and why? And I will further say, and this does involve negotiation, there's a little bit of OpenAI took influencers on some kind of bougie trip and
Hmm.
never mentioned like AI the whole time. Like it was all came back as
It's like a
lifestyle
farm.
content.
It was like a farm trip. Yeah,
Oh, there we go. Maybe Monsanto was in there too. Who knows, for good measure.
yeah,
And there's a bunch of thought leadership out there about the myths and the gaps in that planning and execution, and how the influencer should have been more diligent about who they were working with and ask questions. I'm like, are you kidding me? When you get an offer as an influencer, and frankly, probably there's a lot of categories of influencer that could have been pulled into that. You are not upsetting the apple cart. You are not raising all the ways that this should be different and you need to be super special, because you'll get yourself kicked right off of that and you
yeah,
know it.
yeah,
So we need to have some understanding about when and how to tease out collaborative experiences with influencers in that very delicate discovery, curation, outreach, negotiation, contracting, because they're a skittish breed, and rightly so, right? Like, I mean, I think they think these things can go away in a minute. Even the $80,000 quote to me is probably, without any common sense add-ons, is probably a lack mentality there. Let me
yeah,
get while the getting is good. And we could spend this, we're already 20 minutes into this, but we could spend another 20 minutes doing the theory of relativity. Like, what does $80,000 buy in today's world that goes through the mind of the buyer who's on the other end of that quote going, Jesus, that's a year of college tuition. That
right. Or
is
that's more like, depending on who's negotiating, that's more than my salary.
more than my salary plus my car combined.
Right.
All of that, it's right back to it's emotional. And if you're not thinking about the impact, the intent is one thing. I'm being clear. Here's my rate. I'm standing up for my worth. The impact could derail you faster than you
Yeah,
realize.
for sure.
Wow.
Oh, well, this was fun.
It was. I always love talking money with you.
Me too. Money. We love money.
We do.
Okay. Well, more soon.
See you next week.